black folks. So that if we had it too, we would have done the same thing. But we had to come out of slavery, you didn't. So we got to start from scratch. You owned us, so you already had money coming in. You made a fortune off us. Now we got to try to come up and do what we can do. And it's hard.
But Mr. Franklin, I think maybe I was asking more about your personal history that prepared you to be able to come to Auburn.
Oh, okay. Well, what I did, let me tell you the story. I went in service at 19 years old. Okay, when the Air Force, because my older brothers in Korea and in the Army, and they were getting killed. He told me you put on the Air Force because they killed the soldiers and Marines, but you don't hear African getting killed. I did my older brothers, they do. I went to Alabama State, and what did I do? Talladega College. What was your question again there?
My question was, what in your personal background prepared you to be able to be the one chosen to come here?
Oh,
The reason he felt that you wouldn't be a threat if you came rather than someone else.
Oh, okay. Well, what happened was I graduated from Alabama State with honors. That's number one. I did not have a jail record. Okay, that's number two. So when Fred and I talked, and he said, I want you to go to Auburn, I want you to go to Auburn. Like I said, he told you first, the hell, Fred, that's the last school I ever want to go to. It never appealed to me because at one time, you know, known as agriculture college. And when Daddy would say, grow a garden, working that garden, I would have a fit. I don't know why I didn't like growing anything. And I said, going to an agriculture school, no, that's not for me. I want to go to Alabama somewhere. But anyway, Fred talked to me and explained to me that, like I said, Auburn had, state of Alabama had nothing they could use against me. I didn't have a jail record. I was married, so they couldn't say I was over there for the white girls. I did, you know, might not have been a perfect person, but there's nothing they could use against me. And as a result, I talked to my wife about it. She said, if you want to go ahead and do it, do it. And I reluctantly did it. And of course, you know the story, they turned me down. And I had to go to court. And as I told you, they said, and they turned me down because I was black. They turned me down because Alabama State College wasn't accredited. And they only accepted graduate students from accredited schools. And the state superintendent of education, Dr. All-Star Meadows, I told you also, testified that the reason that Alabama State and Alabama A&M, black schools, state schools, were not accredited was because the legislature would not adequately fund those schools that they do for white schools. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, my lawyer whispered in my ear, we just won our case. Sure enough, you're in our way. So on January 4th, 1964, I walked in Auburn. Another thing too, after I won the case against Auburn, I had to sue them to get a place to live on campus. Okay, so, and then they put me in a dormitory by myself. The East was tall. But it didn't bother me because I never really supposed to socialize anyway. Yes, sir.
Dr. Franklin, you wanted to write about the civil rights era. You were told by the faculty here in the history department, no, you're going to write about the history of Alabama State
College.
Yeah, college, and so you wrote your master's thesis on that.
Yeah.
And so, could you share with us what happened? How was it received?
Every time I carried back, they would find some excuse. And I'll be honest about it. At first, I knew I wasn't perfect. And I've never written a thesis before. So I said, Mama, I got to understand. So after I kept carrying it back, then I would get other people to read it from other schools. And then they kept telling me the same thing. And one day I'll never forget, as long as I live, I carried it back to the professor and I said, I went to check it. He gave it back to me. And I said, listen, what you're telling me is I won't get a degree from Auburn. I said, so hell with it. And my exact word was, hell with it. Because I looked at the thesis on that Auburn. And I knew mine was better. Sometimes it was first rough draft than some of the completed one. But because they were white. And mine had to be perfect because I was black. And like I told the professor, hell, nobody's perfect on this earth. Because I could curse then, see, because I had already completed my requirements, you know. I would have said that when I first went there now. So I said, well, I'm tired of this crap I'm taking, so that's when I just told. And I told him, I said, what y'all telling me that I won't get a degree from the school. I said, shove it up yo, you know what. And then got fortunate enough to win a scholarship at the University of Denver. I guess the Lord, you know, people talk about the Lord. I guess he worked in mysterious ways. Because there was one place I had never thought about going. It looked no strange. During the Korean conflict, I was staying in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is 101 miles from Denver. Never went over to Denver. Don't ask me why. Because Cheyenne is a little small town compared to Denver. And a lot of guys went over to Denver. That's how I found out about it. And then when I went to school out there, I said, thank you, Lord. You know, this is what I've been missing all those years. So I ended up there in the Graduate School of International Studies. And it was fascinating. It was. And I'm sorry I didn't know about it years before then. I would have gone to school there. I might not even come to Auburn then. It's amazing. You know, I'm just glad I could do something to help overcome racism. You know,
I was going to ask you what your father thought. You mentioned your father wanted, had you gardening, planting. I wanted to know what he thought of your academic pursuits and
well,
some of the
it never
struggles.
bothers him.
Okay, never know how.
Never bothers him. You know, all of us, and like I said, there were 10 of us now, 5 boys and 5 girls. And my older sister, she's still living, she's 92. She graduated from Drury High School, which is on the campus of Talladega College. My older brother, who was named George Jr., if I remember, he did not graduate. He left and went in service. And the rest of them I can't remember. I know that my twin brother and I, neither one of us graduated. And we both went in service. And that's when I took the GED and eventually I would come. And if I remember correctly, the other ones finished high school. The younger ones, because like I said, Mom and Dad moved to Ohio, and I can't really remember what the younger ones did. I will regret one thing, I didn't graduate from high school. Not because of the ceremony, but because of that, something I missed up here. You know, taking the test is good, all that, but you know, there's nothing like hitting those books that the old folks say. You know, so many, and you can read them, and do the problem, do whatever. But we run out and take a test in for 4 hours, and you know, you're not gonna be that smart. I wasn't dumb, now don't get me wrong. But I regret I finished high school. And I am glad one thing, I didn't get killed either. Yes.
So you spoke about the history of the state of Alabama and its role in the HBCUs in the area, right? What should the state of Alabama do now to make things right?
Contribute financially, not a dollar, thousands of millions of dollars like they're doing before, and to make sure that the schools are successful enough to overcome. Because a lot of you did not go to state school. Some of you went to private schools, and you know how proud you felt. Just like those of us who went to state schools, some of us felt proud too. So why not treat each one equal? To me, that makes sense. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's a private or a public school. If the state can afford to help that private school, why not? You got some students going there from your town, your state. And you know, but I know we're all greedy. So we want to keep all the money for the state school. And that's when they make an issue out of it every time. And they were doing it at least until the 60s. And this is the oddity of the whole thing. When those cities and counties, and to some degree the states, came out after the desegregation of the public school system, how do white people come up with all that money to have all these different schools, build them from the ground up? Huh? That should let you know somebody, somewhere has some money who's doing it. And not only that, but, there's the bankers, other people, churches. You know, the churches were kind of supportive of them because a lot of those churches had schools themselves. And also, I found out about it because my dad was a janitor at the First Baptist Church in Talladega for years. So, you know, we would read stuff they would leave around, hanging around. When I say we, my twin brother now. And we would see some of that stuff. So we got a chance to see what was going on. But it's amazing to me that, I guess it's not amazing that they had all these different private schools and you had some of them 2 and 3 stories tall because the banks were financing them for them because they were white. So you just had to go along with it.
This is, I think, less of a question than just, I've been here 20 years, and a few weeks ago I spoke over at the Boykin Community Center in the historically African American part of Auburn. And most of the people in the audience were black women, most of them in their 70s and 80s. And they said, "How much do you know about where you teach?" And they asked if I knew about you, and they were very sad about how Auburn had treated you in 1964, and they were glad that I knew a little bit about it, and they hoped that our students knew a little bit about it. But I hope you know how much. For that first wave of students who came after you, because Dr. Hebert and some others here have gotten to know those students, how much they looked up to you for the way that you broke open those doors. And then I just think of all those students of color who come after you. And I remember hearing a story of a young woman at Clemson University who felt like a young black woman, she didn't want to be there, and that every time she got down and out, she would go to a marker for Harvey Gantt, who was the first African American student at Clemson, and touch that marker. And so I just want you to know how much all of us appreciate how you made Auburn a better place.
Well, thank you. Somebody had to do it, and I'm not, the old folks say, I just happened to be the right place at the right time. Because like I said, this is the last school I ever went to. My ambition was to go to the University of Alabama Law School. Because Thurgood Marshall, first black member of the United States Supreme Court, was my idol. Because all the years he handled those cases for NAACP, most of the significant cases, and he won. And then I said, I want to be a Thurgood Marshall. So I want to go to law school, and I think I had a right to go to a state-supported institution in my state, which is Alabama. Why should I have to go out of state? You know, you make me pay taxes in Alabama, don't you? That's why we get our money from the state schools, isn't it? All right, so, like I said, I won't go down to Alabama, but after saying, look, we need somebody to desegregate Auburn. Okay, I'll do it then. At least I make some kind of contribution to society. And as a result of it, and like I said, I talked to my wife about it because I wasn't gonna make any decision without talking to my wife. You know, you don't play them ladies. So she said, look, go ahead and do it. I said, thank you, baby. So she's gone away from here, but she supported me with it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. I wonder if your experiences here, your sort of master's thesis, your desire to study the civil rights movement informed then your doctoral work at the University of Denver, and how sort of your studies going forward. Did your experiences here and your original sort of goals to study and work with the civil rights movement then inform your sort of doctoral work and your experiences in Denver?
Not really. No, not really. In the field of international studies. And they were recruiting students. And so just so happened I was on the faculty at Talladega College. And somebody suggested it to me. They said, "Have you heard about it?" I said, "No, I didn't hear anything about it." So I went and looked it up and everything. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to give it a shot." And the reason I wanted to do that because, like I told you, I was stationed in Cheyenne, Wyoming, during the Korean conflict. And Denver and Cheyenne are only 101 miles from each other. And I never went to Denver the whole time. Everybody else in my outfit went to Denver but me. So I saw this as an opportunity to go to Denver. So I said, I'm going to East Track. And sure enough, it paid off. And then also, there were a number of kids out there. We grew up together from Talladega. So I knew some people in Denver. And, that gave me a chance to see them too as well. Yeah.
Did you have a particular specialty at University of Denver?
No, no. All of that, I can tell you, the thing was international affairs. That really have it especially. You just pick your choice in international affairs until you got a certain number of hours, and that was it.
Harold, I know one thing from being around you, there's the story of you integrating Auburn, which is obviously what you're really known for, but in your years as an educator afterwards, though, you were really proud of some of the courses that you taught. You were telling me the other day about teaching African-American history at Tuskegee and so forth, and so I'm curious about your experience as a Black educator in these HBCUs and sort of the kind of historical work and research you were doing here and wanted to do here that may not be able to, but I know you were very proud of that.
Oh, no question about it. And when I started out teaching, I was teaching Black history courses, African American and West African history. Well, of course, our heritage, and I enjoyed it. And I used Slavery Freedom by John Hope Franklin. That's my textbook in American, we call it Negro history in the old days. And I got a chance to meet him as well too once in my lifetime. And it was fascinating to me because mother was a teacher too. She taught in the public school system now. I tell you the truth now, so you won't misquote me. She didn't graduate in Talladega College. She went to Talladega College for a while. But in those days, they would allow you to teach even though you didn't have a degree. Okay, she taught for a number of years in the public school system at Talladega. And she, I guess, part of the reason that I wanted to go to college too, because out of 10 of us, Mom and Dad had 5 boys and 5 girls. I know you look at that like, ooh, God.
They have 2.
I understand. I used to look back at us too, and I used to say, "Oh Lord." But anyway, mother would occasionally, like I said, she attended Talladega College for a while, and she would occasionally, do things to me that impressed me academically. My daddy didn't have much formal education, but he was a hard-working man. He believed in hard work. I don't care what kind of work it was. If you ask him to do it, George, yes, I'll do it. And that was it. I don't care if it's cleaning up this building or painting this building or whatnot, or moving these chairs around. If you want it done, he would do it, no question about it. And so I didn't like too much physical work. That's why I chose academics. I'm on the lazy side. I'll be honest with you. But, like I said, I did my share when I was young. And,
I think you're among friends.
that's good. And, when my wife was living, she didn't have to worry about cleaning the house because I'm gonna keep it up. But since she passed, I don't have to worry about it. Hell with it. If it spills, it spills. Nobody there but me. Our son lives in Georgia, so when he comes in once every 4 or 5 months, he doesn't like it, he cleans clean it up. That's the way I am. Yeah. And of course.
So I have a question that's sort of, building on what Guy asked you about the state's responsibility. Is there anything that we in the department or the university should be doing to continuing to sort of repair the relationships between, the school and, Black students who are, currently enrolled and those who are those who are in high school and middle school and are gonna be coming here?
I think one of the things that the white schools have done that they can really expand on. They did sports to get the best black kids they can get now, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of you got to get the best academic black kids?
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do maybe is take some lessons from your coaches. What you put in terms of academics. And if you do that, you see, then you're gonna also find out that not only this is an A student, that's an A plus, a B plus right behind, a B minus, so you increase it. But another thing you have to take into consideration, is my philosophy, the white schools don't want too many of us there. Now they don't want no like 6,000 or 7,000 of us there, not out of 10,000, out of 20,000. There's still too many. I don't think they really want them. At least it never impressed me that they did. I don't see them recruiting that much, unless you're an athlete. Now, if they all great athletes, I don't care if they're all black. They'll recruit them, man. But they want a winning team. They want that money. That winning team makes money. So that's what they're gonna do. The other year you saw that first black quarterback in the SEC. Because he was good. And they knew they were gonna bring some money in. But if I'd have gone in there academically, excuse me, what the hell would that done? I'd have made all A's, so what? How many people would have heard about it? None but what? You got 50,000 people out there, 75,000 people in that stadium. You're seeing your football team kicking other people's rear end. What you gonna do? Oh yes. Make sure we keep that up. And that's what you do. Yep.
Mr. Franklin, obviously I've been knowing Mr. Franklin all my life, so I guess I was first off, I should take Dr. Hebert, thank you in the history department for at least taking the time to at least acknowledge this. I really want to thank you all and everyone who's able to come here. I've been knowing Mr. Franklin all my life, and as you stated, Dr. Hebert, not only his history, but his role as an educator. I was one of his students. I'm a Talladega College graduate and also a native Talladega. And the lives this man has touched is infinite. Not only the phone calls, the letters, the visits, and I must say I'm one of them, one too as well, that comes and remind him that, but not only that contribution alone. I've heard him told many stories, and like I said, I'm not gonna tell my exact age. I'm almost 50 years old and I still learn something each time he made a couple statements he hadn't told me. But as we have passed this journey from 1964, obviously, into 1969, we want to talk about today, 2020. And Mr. Franklin, I hate to put you on the spot, but you know I am. I was taught by the best by you. It's 2020 now. What do you have to say, if you did? I know we don't have many young people here, but it's 2020 now. As we know in the technology age, and you know I'm an ambassador of technology, that's what my degrees are in. What do you have to say about anything in 2020? Please share with us.
Well, I think the thing we got to, first of all, look at each other. And each one of us need to say to ourselves, we going to, first of all, respect everybody, regardless of their color, race, or whatnot. Because we still have some racists out there now. And who look at you as if you are inferior, dummy, or whatever. Instead of saying, and some of us, African Americans, we look at some white and say, he's still a racist. We don't even know it. He's white, ain't he? So he's a racist. And we have to understand and overcome those type of attitudes, as we get older. And learn from each other. That, look, yeah, I have a little education, but that doesn't mean I'm superior to you because you don't have an education. It means that I can use mine to help you overcome your efficiency or deficiency. And you have something as a human being that I need, because we all have something. You know, old folks just tell you that somebody else needs. And you may be younger than I, but it doesn't mean you don't know more than I do. Some of you do know more. And you can tell them, say, look, I saw you make that mistake. When you have a young person never tell you that, oh, mom and dad, you made a mistake. What are they telling you? They know something that you don't know, or you didn't know, that they were paying attention to. And that's the smart part about it. And another thing is, nobody's perfect. And some of your kids know. They get, mom and dad, why you say that to that man? Mom and dad, why you do that? You know, what they're saying is, look, there's something wrong here. And here I am, 3 years old, 4 years old, I can see it. Something wrong with you guys. What's wrong with you, these ladies? And then there's another thing too, for example, you know, you may be mad at somebody, and you walk around your kids and say, the hell with that bastard. And then they eventually say what? Quote you on it. Then you want to put their hands in you. What you doing? What did you say? Well, where did you get it from? They got it from us. So we should what? Watch our mouths. That's number one. Respect our kids and respect each other, period. So that they will respect us. Rather than, you know, I want to be the top dog. You know, that's our attitude. I want to be the king. I want to be the man. And the ladies, I'm going to be the lady. You know, that type of attitude. Rather than say, I want to be a human being, help people that I can, go about my business. And then let the man upstairs determine my fate. You know, that's it. Young lady, I saw your hand up.
I was just gonna ask whether or not you ever got an opportunity to meet Justice Marshall, and whether you had any students that went on to Alabama Law School.
I've had some students go to University of Alabama, I think, but I've never met Justice Marshall, no. I met a number of the NAACP attorneys. In fact, there's one that got me to Auburn. He was one of the Fred Gray. And I met a number of them, and at one time, there were quite a few of them in Birmingham I knew, you know, in the 60s. And so, but like I said, I never got a chance to meet him. I wish I had though, but it just wasn't made for us. All right. That's it.
Ken, you have a question at one point.
Actually, Keith asked my question. I was really interested in your teaching, and especially the sorts of topics that you covered in your African American history course, because you had to build those courses from scratch.
Yeah, well, one of the things was that it started with me when we were at Tuskegee. That's where it started. And because I started at Tuskegee in '65, and I went to Auburn 64, 65, whatever it was. 64, 65, okay. And I left there and went to Alabama State this summer, 65. And then I went in the fall, I went to Tuskegee because I wanted to get away from the state schools because they were so unstable at the time, especially the black schools. Because we were taking part in the civil rights struggle and all that, and the white legislators were going to penalize us. But first of all, withholding funds, that was number one. And excuse me. So that's why I ended up in Tuskegee. Tuskegee offered me a job. Alabama State offered one. I took one in Tuskegee. Sometimes I did that because they were paying more money than the private schools were paying. But I was looking up there, being on the state side. That's it. Any other questions?
If there are no other questions yet, as members of our examination committee, it's our duty to evaluate your work and to determine if you have satisfied the requirements to earn a master's degree in history from Auburn University. Committee members, I recommend that Dr. Harold Franklin has fulfilled the requirements for this degree in accordance to the standards established by the Department of History and Auburn University. I now ask the committee members to voice their approval. All committee members who believe that Dr. Franklin has successfully passed his MA thesis examination and thus fulfilled the requirements to earn his master's degree at Auburn University, please respond with aye when I call your name. Dr. Jennifer Brooks, has Dr. Franklin passed his exam?
Aye.
Dr. Austin McCoy, has Dr. Harold Franklin passed his exam?
Aye.
Dr. David Carter, has Dr. Harold Franklin passed his exam?
Aye.
Before I voice my approval, I ask all Department of History faculty who have gathered here, which is a large number of us on this monumental occasion, to voice their support for the successful completion of this MA thesis defense and degree requirements by responding by an aye. Department faculty, has Dr. Harold Franklin fulfilled the requirements for a master's degree in history from Auburn University?
Aye.
Thank you. Before I voice my approval and close out our session, we must acknowledge for the record that today's thesis defense has been brought about by sad circumstances, both happy and joyous all at the same time. Those conditions must be acknowledged and publicly declared and laid bare for history to judge. On behalf of the faculty of the Department of History, I would like to present this statement in recognition of this important occasion. This statement will be entered for his master's degree and added as an appendix to it to give some record of the events of what we are doing here today and to explain the enormous time that has passed since when this fine man should have received his degree. Dr. Harold Franklin was the first African-American student to enroll at Auburn University as a result of a class action lawsuit decided in his favor in August 1963. Dr. Franklin then enrolled in the graduate school seeking a master's degree in history. Although Dr. Franklin's matriculation at Auburn created a pathway utilized later by other African-American students, his own experience at the university was far from positive. He dealt with a level of institutionalized racism and personal discrimination that significantly undermined the education that he sought, the same education all our students seek. Unfortunately, the faculty in the Department of History, who we now represent, including the director of his thesis project and members of his thesis committee, appear to have participated in a campaign to render it exceedingly difficult for then student Harold Franklin to receive approval for his master's thesis and obtain the degree. The president of Auburn University at the time, who we named the library after, Dr. Franklin applied for admission in 1963, and the person who thereafter played a pivotal role in denying his application for admission, thus prompting the lawsuit, was Dr. Ralph Brown Drawn Sr., also a tenured member of our history department. In the interest of beginning a process of reparative justice for any role the Department of History and its faculty may have played in perpetuating this specific racial injustice or any others of the past, we reached out to Dr. Franklin in the fall of 2019 to learn from him directly about his experience in our department. Dr. Franklin recalled some fond memories of being a graduate history student at Auburn, but he also very clearly recalled that his committee actively fought his efforts to win final approval of his thesis in order to complete the master's degree. Specifically, he recalled submitting multiple drafts to his committee chair, who finally told him that because he was African American, his final thesis draft would have to be absolutely perfect. Dr. Franklin at that time interpreted that to mean that he would never receive a master's degree from the Department of History at Auburn University, and up to this point, 2020, that has not happened. Sorry. He then left Auburn, eventually obtaining a master's degree in international studies from the University of Denver, and went on to a long and distinguished career as an educator at various institutions, including Talladega College, Tuskegee Institute University, North Carolina A&T University, and Alabama State University. As we've heard today, has left behind a long-lasting legacy of all the students that have come after him and have been inspired by all that he has done. In 2001, Auburn University awarded Dr. Franklin an honorary doctorate degree in recognition of his contribution to the desegregation of Auburn University. What the university has never done, until now, however, is to actually award the degree he did in fact earn, a master's degree in history. Dr. Franklin still maintains the final draft of his completed master's thesis, thank God. We went up there, it took us all 5 minutes to find it, but thank goodness. That he wrote at the time and provided it to us when we met last fall. Several of us have read this draft, which is a history of the formation of Alabama State University, a topic no one had researched or written at the time that Dr. Franklin completed this project in 1969. He chose this topic, as he told us, because his committee refused to allow him to pursue a topic on the history of the civil rights movement. Now, of course, such a refusal would be absolutely ridiculous, as social movements, and specifically the Black freedom struggle, past and present, are foundational fields across multiple disciplines in the academy. Dr. Franklin's instincts as a graduate student were spot on. You were ahead of your time. The same cannot be said, unfortunately, of the baser motives that appear to have led his committee to deny not only this topic to Dr. Franklin, but the degree itself. Those of us in the history department who have read Dr. Franklin's thesis have judged it to be more than acceptable as a final draft suitable for awarding a master's degree in history from Auburn University. We are honored to be the faculty members of Dr. Franklin's new thesis committee and have conducted this thesis defense. And on behalf of the entire faculty of the Department of History, we extend our sincere apologies for any harm caused by the members of our department when you were here as a graduate student. Signed here, committee members. This apology and the acknowledgments of past wrongs will be distributed among our department faculty, and signatures will be solicited, and that signed document will be included with your permission at the end of your thesis to let people know what has transpired here, and also share with you, Harold. And just so you know, your thesis, just like all the other theses here now, will be published and made available through our library. So hopefully students in future generations and students today can learn more about the trials and tribulations that you experienced as you sought so actively to get the degree that we denied you. As chair, I want to be the first to congratulate you for completing your master's thesis. Your dedication to the good of humanity and perseverance in this process is an inspiration to us all. If we ever think we can't, we should remember Harold Franklin can. Today serves as a reminder that Auburn University and the Department of History must remain vigilant to ensure that inclusivity and compassion for humanity remains at the forefront of our mission. Harold, you've given us much more than we can ever repay you. We are forever in your debt. Congratulations, Harold, on a job well done. This ends this portion of the thing. We have a reception. There'll be running, so I know a lot of you have to come and go to class, but if you run into students, let them know that even if they come a little bit after noon, Dr. Franklin will definitely be here. I plan on taking him back home, a little earlier in the afternoon, but we'll be around. And I think I'm happy to report too that Dr. Franklin plans to walk in the graduation ceremony. Our department and Dean Flowers and stuff will work hard to make those arrangements and so forth, but just sort of keep that in your schedule. Some special things coming up, and there are other things as well. But yes, thank you all for attending, and thank you, Dr. Franklin.
Congratulations.